This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social, and I'm delighted to be joined by a ring legend and the man behind Cyclone Promotions, Barry McGuigan. Barry, how are you?
I'm great, Andy. How are you?
I'm all good, thank
Good.
you. We've come down today for a press conference announcing Bakolie versus Hunter amongst McGregor fighting for the Commonwealth title, Chris Williams-Smith getting back in the ring. Let's start off with Bakolie Hunter first. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
It's a great fight. It's a tough fight, really dangerous fight for Big Martin, but especially as it's only over 10 rounds. But you know, he wants to make an impression. He wants people to stand up and take notice of him. And by God, he deserves to be respected. He's a great fighter. I've watched him sparring. I'm very much involved in his career with Billy Nelson, his manager and his trainer. But I think this guy can go all the way. Absolutely, no doubt about it. But first he has to beat Michael Hunter Jr. on October 13th at York Hall, and it's a great little atmospheric arena. The place is going to be packed, bumper undercard as well, which we'll go into more detail. But the fact is, this is a hard fight because Hunter's only been beaten once before by Usyk, and Usyk is the unified cruiserweight champion, Alexander Usyk, and you know, he's beaten a who's who in the cruiserweight division, so it's not too shabby to lose to him by 3 or 4 rounds and to put up such a great fight. I think the difference is going to be that, you know, guys that have 14-4 to someone like Martin Bakolie, who's, you know, 18 stone, fast hands, walks you down, very intimidating, marauding type of fighter, great upper body movement. Just been sparring with Joshua, main sparring partner for the Povetkin fight. So this guy knows what he's doing when he hits you. You know, you remain hit. He's a very destructive puncher. So you know, the old saying, you can run but you can't hide. So I think Michael might get out in front early on, but just wait to see Bakolie walk him down and take him out, because this kid's the real McCoy. He's the real deal, and he's gonna be going places, and we're thrilled about that. And it's a great main event. It's free to air television on Channel 5. And of course, the fight you didn't mention, Andy, was Chantelle Cameron against Diana Santana from Puerto Rico. That's going to be a hell of a fight. Diana Santana is a former featherweight champion of the world. She will say that she's in the twilight of her career. She's had 38 professional fights. She's only been stopped once, and that questionable stoppage against Amanda Serrano, who's considered one of the best fighters in the world, female fighters in the world. So, and I looked at it and I thought the fight shouldn't have been stopped in the first place. So that's a tough night's work for Chantelle. But we want to show the boxing aficionados that we're not afraid to take on the best girls around, and I have every confidence that Chantelle will do a number on this girl. Just wait and see.
So many little quotes that I could pick up on there. We'll just stick with Bakolie for now, and certainly on the domestic scene, he seems to have been an avoided fighter. Where would you place Martin in terms of a level of abilities amongst other British or maybe European level fighters? What types of names do you put him in with?
Well, here's the thing. It would be disrespectful of me to say that he's better than someone like Tyson Fury. He's on a par with someone like Anthony Joshua, because that is a little disrespectful, and therefore he has to prove it, he has to show it in the ring. And up to now, we haven't seen him in against a calibre of opponent that will bring the best out of him. I think you're going to see that on October the 13th. You're definitely going to see that. He will be at his best because he needs to be at his best. You know, I think I'm not convinced about Tyson Fury. I saw his 2 return fights. I know his technique is to befuddle you, to confuse you, to make it awkward and to outpoint you, and if you get frustrated and tired, he can take you out. He was reasonably quick against his last opponent, but I think the jump from there to fighting someone like Deontay Wilder is a very exaggerated one, and it's a dangerous one. Not sure he'll come through that, and even if he does, I think, to my mind, I think Joshua beats them all. And he's definitely number 1 at the moment, the most dangerous heavyweight in the world, and the biggest attraction. He's got all the plaudits. But Bakolie is a very talented young man, and I put him in the same vein as someone like Daniel Dubois. He's definitely as good as him, and so where do you rate that? And so it's always difficult to say, and it's difficult if you're seen to be disrespectful. Is he as good as Hughie Fury? 100%. Is he as good as the guy he fights now out in Hungary or Bulgaria or wherever? Purewal? Yes, every bit as good as that. And I know Billy will be willing to take any of those guys on, but first of all he has to get his merit, and the merit will be by beating Michael Hunter and beating him in explosive or dramatic fashion. Then people will stand up and take notice. But believe me, sooner or later they're going to start respecting this guy because he can really fight, and he's 26 years old, 115 kilos, fast hands. He's not body beautiful, but he's a natural talent. Larry Holmes, who was one of the best heavyweights of all time, didn't have a great physique, but he was a phenomenal fighter. And I just think that Martin Bakolie has that natural ability, fast hands, great head movement, good feet, and big unit, and takes a great shot and hits tremendously hard. So I'm looking forward to, and I'm very excited about being involved with him over the next number of years.
I mean, you mentioned earlier on, Hunter's been in with Usyk, so how serious a challenge and a matchup should Bakolie expect come fight night?
No, that's just a really tough fight. And the fact that it's 10 rounds as opposed to 12 rounds, it gives Hunter a better chance, because if he gets out of the blocks and can keep out of the way, then he could, there'll be those, and he certainly believes that he can steal a points decision. He can't even stop Martin, and that's great, because we want people coming here believing that they can win, because that's what we need in boxing. We need fights that are even, or considered even fights. We don't want shows where we know 9 times out of 10 who the winner is going to be. That puts people off. We don't grow the sport that way. We've got to put people in 50-50 fights like Lee McGregor and Thomas Essomba. Like, to an extent, it's maybe not 50-50 with Chantelle Cameron against Diana Santana, but it's a very good opponent. It's going to stretch her, going to test her. And the same with Robin Dupre against Chris Billum-Smith. That's a very tough fight, especially in his 7th professional fight. But that's been our sort of calling card, putting kids in and testing them on free-to-air television. That's great, and I hope that we can continue to do that, because we need more dates, we need more opportunities, and we're developing. We've got a gym full of fantastically talented young men, all doing their thing, and it's great to be part of that.
We'll move on to Chantelle Cameron now. You've mentioned her a couple of times, going in with Diana Santana. What made you guys decide this is the right fight at this stage of Chantelle's career?
Well, mainly because, Andy, nobody else wants to fight her. Nobody else wants to fight her. Not Delphine Persoon, not Rose, whatever her name is. She's apparently vacated the title, and because Amanda Santana, apologies. Amanda Serrano fought for the light welterweight title. Rose Valente is the girl's name, and she vacated, and Serrano fought somebody else. But the point is, I'm not saying that Serrano would avoid the fight. Of course it would, if the money was right and the circumstances were right. But we've made really, really good offers to these girls, and they just don't want to take it. We haven't put it to Taylor, but we want to fight Taylor. We want to fight all the best girls in the lightweight division, because I really 100% believe that she can beat every single one of them. And that's a statement, but I genuinely believe it, because I see what she does in the gym here, and I'm telling you, she's the real McCoy.
That's the thought I wanted to move on to, the possibilities of Katie Taylor coming into the equation with Chantelle. Mm-hmm. What do you think it would take to make that fight, and what type of fight could that be stylistically? Well, I mean,
I'm not going to go into that, because why would we do that? Because then I'd have to start explaining how I think she can beat her and giving away our potential tactics. But what I will say is that given the right platform and the right money, I think that fight, I don't think Katie Taylor's afraid of anybody, but I just think it has to be the right circumstances, and we are gearing towards that.
So when do you believe we will see Chantelle in a unification fight?
Well, apart from Taylor, when the other ones will fight her. I mean, Delphine Persoon is considered, she's the WBC champion, she's considered the number one. And so we will see what happens and what transpires over the next couple of months, or next 6 months, 8 months, 10 months.
How frustrating does it make it for you guys when obviously you're trying to negotiate these deals, trying to get the unification fights on the go, and just nothing seems to be happening, and you've had people vacate as well?
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, it is frustrating, but and I suppose if we had a better budget, or bigger money, or more opportunities, that it would be easier to get those fights across the line. But we'll get them, don't worry about that. It'll happen. But it's just about biding your time. And she's got plenty of time. She's 26 years old. Katie Taylor's 32. And the other ones are even older. So, we've got plenty of time.
When you say plenty of time, do you mean plenty of time on your side, but then you feel maybe you have to rush a little bit because the other champions are maybe that touch older?
No. I don't think there's any point in rushing. It'll happen. If we make the right offers, the fights will happen, and we get the right opportunities, the fight will happen. Up to now, that hasn't been the case, and the girls, for whatever reason, been offered really good money, but they haven't wanted to take it. And it's easy when you look at the way Chantelle Cameron rips through opponents. You can understand why they wouldn't want to fight it, but they can't call themselves world champions and run around avoiding people. So that's going to change, and it will change. And
we'll move on to Lee McGregor now, going in for a Commonwealth title in only his fifth fight. Sorry, a quick rise for Lee. How come you guys believe that he can move at such a fast pace?
Just from what I see in the gym. And his amateur credentials, he was a world-class amateur. He lost a couple of times to the very best in the world by a pip. Then watching the way he spars, and watching how hard he punches, and watching the way he fights, the way he picks things up stylistically, how he changes, how he sits down in his punches, how he can hit to the body, long levers, 5'8.5" for a bantamweight, which is huge. And he can hit so hard, and hit the body and hit the head so well, and wants to fight too much, but we'll take that out of him. Better to have it that way than guys that are hugely talented but don't want to fight, and often we get those scenarios too. But in McGregor is a guy, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He wants to fight all the time, which is great, and will make him very exciting. But he's got the levers to not to have to do that. So we're trying to teach that part of it. That takes time as well. But we're willing to take risks with him because he's that good. It's as simple as that. He's very, very special. And this kid's going to be a world champion. Believe me when I tell you, you're going to play this back to me in 3 or 4 years' time and say, you're absolutely right. Lee McGregor's going to be a world champion. And he's got the height to be able to go through the weights as well. But, first and foremost, he is a serious talent. And he will beat Thomas Essomba on the 13th of October. And Thomas Essomba's tough, strong guy. But he'll never be hit like Lee McGregor's going to hit him.
You've got Josh Taylor, who's accelerated through the ranks, and he's world level now, going into the World Boxing Super Series. He's only had 13 fights, and like I say, world title fights have been mentioned with his name. Mm-hmm. Could you say Lee could be in that same bracket where within that amount of fights you could see him being mentioned amongst the best in the world?
No, I think each individual. Somebody asked me the same question earlier on, and Cyclone have got the sort of the attitude of we'll take risks and we'll push our guys. And we do to an extent, but they are calculated risks, and we don't do anything that is mad or risky beyond reason. And this is risk. Every time you step in the ring is a risk if you want to be like that. And most of these decisions are calculated risk. We knew we could be aggressive with Taylor, because Taylor had 200 amateur fights and is just a phenomenal talent, and we knew we could be aggressive with him. We can do the same thing with Lee, but it's an individual sport, and they're individual people, and they all have a certain amount that you can push them and a certain amount you can't. So you got to play with that, and you got to each one is a separate case. So we're going to move. Certainly, we're going to move aggressively with him because I see what he does in the gym, and we're not afraid of anybody, and neither is he. But the decisions we make and you know the level of opposition we put him in against has to be considered very careful.
And we've also got Chris Billham-Smith making his return to the ring at cruiserweight.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Chris and going into his matchup? What are your thoughts in terms of where he can be maybe by the end of next year?
Well, I mean, I like the way Billham-Smith has he's surprised us all since he's turned professional. He's 49 amateur fights or 47 amateur fights, 2 stoppages. One on a cut eye and the other one was a pretty ropey stoppage. In any case, I think you'll agree with that. And he's knocked out 5 of his 6 victims, and he almost knocked out the guy who went the distance with him. At least a couple of times he was down and badly hurt. So, and it was good for him to go that 6 rounds and go at a hectic pace in a really atmospheric little arena down there in the O2 in Bournemouth. And it's you know, he's a big name down there, and he's got great support, and he's coming on in leaps and bounds. He's a very adaptable, very clever kid, smart. He's not one of these robust, sort of stubborn, walk you down, take 20 punches to knock you out. That's not the way he fights. He fights with intelligence. He's a very handsome kid, throwback looks like Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney of the 1920s, but he can really fight, and he's very, very good, and I think his potential is pretty awesome.
When you say he surprised you in terms of like his knockout ratio since he's turned over, what do you think it is that he's managed to work on? You know, obviously it would be his power, but how exactly has he been able to manage that and work on it to put himself in his position where he is knocking out his opponents?
I think the answer to that is Shane McGuigan. He is exceptional at coaching, and he is a precision puncher. He can get guys that weren't amateur punchers and turn them into punchers just by sitting down on those shots. And it's about attention to detail, and again, I can't articulate it, but I can see it every day, and how it makes a difference. And it's about hitting the target at the right time, with the right sort of velocity, sitting down, holding your feet for the split second extra, and knowing that when you land, you're landing with all your might. He's very good at that, and then rolling your head and getting out of trouble. So he's very good at that. That's what he does, and that's the uniqueness of Shane. I think all the boys will tell you he's pretty awesome when it comes to coaching. He's very, very good at it. But detail. He's very much into precision perfect attitude. You know.
Well, Barry, thank you so much for speaking to Boxing
Welcome,
Social. It's
Andi.
been a pleasure.
Nice to see
Thanks,
you.
Barry.
All right.
Thank you.